From having too many characters to keep track of to the endless amount of sequels and spin-offs, here's why fans absolutely hate the Fast and Furious franchise. For one thing, the characters are too hard to keep track of. Now, don't get me wrong, everyone loves to see fast cars and crazy stunts, but with so many characters, things can get really confusing. I mean, we started off with our faves like Dominic and Mia Toretto, Letty Ortiz, and Tej Parker. But after 9 movies, there's just too many new people popping up left and right. And to be honest, some of them are just plain forgettable. It's tough for fans to get emotionally invested when they're constantly being bombarded with new faces. And that's not all that fans are confused about. One thing they just can't get behind is the whole death and revival thing. Letty supposedly dies in the 4th film, but then miraculously comes back to life in Fast 5. Sounds a lot like how Han Lu died in Tokyo Drift, but then pops back up in the next movie. And just when fans thought he was gone for good, he's back again in F9. The writers need to make up their minds about this stuff because fans are not having it. And I get it. When characters die and come back to life at the drop of a hat, it kind of takes away from the impact of their deaths and sacrifices. The franchise has a special place in the hearts of many fans, so using the plot for cheap shock value is sad to see. Which brings me to my next point. The thrill factor in the movies has gotten way out of control. There was a time when these movies were all about heart-stopping action and pushing the limits. Fans could never forget these epic street races and fist fights that put them right in the middle of the action. But somewhere along the way, things got a little out of hand. Now, I love a good adrenaline rush as much as the next person, but fans think that jumping across cars at high speeds and driving tanks on the open road is a bit much. Not to mention piloting submarines and handling nuclear arms races. I mean, what's going on? It's like the Fast franchise has completely forgotten its roots and decided to go all in on the craziness. And honestly, it's starting to feel like the ideas are just being thrown together without any real thought. The thrill of the race and the rush of the road should be enough to keep the movies going. But at this point, it looks like the creators are trying to milk as much money out of the franchise as possible. Just take a look at the franchise's multiple spin-offs as proof. Fans think that they have taken the idea of spin-offs a little too far. When done right, spin-offs give a chance to explore different stories within our favorite universes. But with the Fast franchise, the amount of spin-offs has gotten way out of hand. There's the Hobbs and Shaw spin-off, and there have been rumors of an all-women spin-off in the works. And let's not forget the short films and the animated show. I get why fans are tired of this. It's like the creators are trying to throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. The real problem with these spin-offs is they make the already intense Fast universe even more complicated. I mean, there are only so many stories you can tell about the underground race scene before stuff gets repetitive. And while the movies have tried to mix things up by delving into espionage and criminal empires, it's just not enough to make up for the poor stories and reused tropes. It may be better to leave things to the imagination because things are not looking good right now. The franchise really needs to listen to its fans and take a step back to focus on quality over quantity. But it looks like this advice has flown over their heads completely because the movies just don't make any sense at this point. Fans have been confused about a lot of stuff in the movies lately. I mean, everyone loves cool cars, insane chases, and crazy stunts. But some things just don't add up. For starters, the cars themselves can be a bit questionable. Some of them have fake engines, and their special abilities seem like they came right out of a sci-fi movie. And don't even get me started on Dom's 1970 Charger with its fake supercharger. But that's not all. The issues go beyond the cars. Get this. So the group used to be a bunch of car thieves and racers. And then they became the go-to team for the government to target international criminal organizations. Sure, they're good at what they do, but it seems like a bit of a stretch, right? That's just not the kind of stuff fans signed up for when they fell in love with the movies. And things just keep on getting worse as more movies come out. And let me tell you, there are a lot of movies. I mean, they're up to 9 films already. Seeing what they've done with the franchise, it's getting to the point where there's just not enough substance to make so many sequels. Back in the day, the Fast and Furious movies were all about family bonds and fast cars, with street racing at the center of it all. The films were over the top, but they had a lot of heart and that cool factor that made them stand out. But fans think that as time went on, the series really lost its focus. They admit that the big budget action scenes are impressive, but those can't make up for the lack of substance. I mean, let's face it, the Fast and Furious franchise peaked around the time of Tokyo Drift. That was when the series was at its best, with just the right balance of crazy stunts and emotional moments that made it so popular. Viewers hold these characters near and dear to their hearts, and that's exactly why fans think that the franchise should be wrapped up now before they ruin it more. That might just be the best thing to do, but guess what? There's a new Fast and Furious movie right around the corner. Yep, you heard that right. The Fast and Furious is about to take us on one last wild ride with Fast 10. This movie will mark the beginning of the end for the franchise. Fans have mixed feelings about this though. On one hand, the franchise has a chance to do justice to its characters, but some have no faith in the creators at all. Judging by the trailer, they've revised Fast 5's ending to introduce Jason Momoa's character into the plot. Some fans are really upset about this, saying it's only going to make stuff even more complicated. But director Louis Leterrier disagrees. He thinks that this will make fans question if Dom and his crew really are the heroes of the story. The bad guys may not be so bad after all. It's all about perspective, right? Well, fans will just have to wait a little more until they can decide for themselves, because Fast 10 is set to release on the 19th of May in 2023. This movie will be part of a 2-part finale for the Fast and Furious franchise. Some fans have complained about the finale being split into 2 parts, but Vin Diesel said it himself. There's so many places and so many locations in the world that we have to visit. Well, we can only hope the franchise does justice to the plot and characters in this one last race to the end. And that's all about why fans have come to hate the Fast and Furious franchise.